Calcorla, what bothers... the Taoiseach was away, of course, and he didn't have a translator for it, so he can smile. What worries me about the Taoiseach's reply to Deputy Kenny is that he seems to be somewhat in denial and seems to be taking a position in relation to the economy that something will turn up. Now, the position, as I understand it, is that in the first 2 months of this year, the state took in almost €700 million less in tax than it did in the first 2 months of last year, and £500 million less than what it had expected to take in. And what I want to address is how that affects people. We've had huge numbers of people losing their jobs in the first 2 months of this year. With a 30% increase in redundancy, 11,000 more people on the live register in January than we did in the beginning of last year. In fact, the level of unemployment in January of this year, the beginning of this year, is the highest than it has been since 1999. And what I want to ask the Taoiseach is, where is this going? I mean, it's all very well to talk in these, to keep throwing out figures and percentages and projections and so on, but where is all this going in terms of the lives that people lead in this country? Last week I raised here the fact that money for the homeless services in this country has been frozen, presumably as a result of the tightening revenue situation. Today we have a report that the Health Service Executive is looking for another 300 million in cuts in the health services that are already strained, and we had a debate about it here yesterday. My colleague, Deputy Joan Burton, drew attention yesterday to an extraordinary tax break that the Minister for Finance proposes to introduce, whereby he intends to give a tax break to developers for developing hospices, private hospices. It's quite sad irony in this, that we're going to give tax breaks to people developing private hospices for people who are dying of cancer in a country where finance can't be provided to provide them with tests and services in the public health service in the first place. And meanwhile, we heard on radio yesterday our former colleague Tom Parlin saying that the building workers who will be building these hospices should be paid 30% less. Now, what I want to find out from the Taoiseach is, we know and we understand that the tax revenues are dropping. We expect government to manage this and to deal with this and to have a strategy to deal with this. And I want to ask the Taoiseach, what assurance can he give me and can he give the House that as this is managed, and he used the term managed on a number of occasions in his reply to Deputy Kenny, that it won't be those who are least able to bear the burden who are asked to take the pain here. That we're not going to have cuts in essential public services, such as the health service. That low-paid workers, including those working on building sites and elsewhere in the economy, are not going to be asked to take pay cuts like they were by Mr Parlin yesterday morning. And that if pain has to be inflicted, it will be inflicted on those who have benefited most and greatest, and that we're not going to see a recipe for the future of the economy which is going to continue to give big tax cuts to wealthy people and inflict pain and income cuts on those who are least well able to bear it. Well, if the government and the Taoiseach were as good at managing the health service and at resourcing it as they are at providing tax breaks for those who want to invest in it, we wouldn't have as many people presenting and dying of cancer in the first place. And the Taoiseach doesn't need to remind us about how close he is to the building industry. The answer to that is too close. Can I ask him specifically about the fall in employment in construction? It's estimated that about 60,000 building workers will lose their jobs in residential construction over the course of this year, and that about 40,000 of those will be reabsorbed back into construction activity in the type of construction that he's described on NDP projects, which will leave a net of about 20,000 building workers at the end of this year who will be out of work. Now, what I want to ask the Taoiseach is, what is the plan for those 20,000 workers? Is there a plan for retraining, for re-education, for them re-entering the economy in some other way? Because that's the question that they and their families want answering. They don't need a lecture from the Taoiseach on the various European assessments of the economy. They want to know where they're going to get a job next year and where they're going to get a job after they're told to leave the building site. So I want the Taoiseach to tell me now, we're going to have 20,000 building workers who will be out of work by the end of this year. What is the future for those building workers? Is there a plan to retrain them? Is there a plan for their reabsorption into the economy? Is there a plan for job opportunities or business opportunities for those people that they can look forward with a future in employment and in work rather than on the dole?